Hello, my name is Tim Sanford, and I want to welcome you to the Miami Valley Preparedness Network, where we're teaching the skills of self-reliance living in today's culture. If you'd like to be a part of our meetings, you can go to MiamiValleyPreparednessNetwork.com or join our Facebook page, and you can see all the events going on there. Just remember, preparedness is not just an event. It's a lifestyle.
You can check that out, or it's on Facebook, things like that. So guys, please, I know you were all interested, gung-ho about this, so get these radios. We were going to do a bulk buy. They looked at us like we were stupid, saying we got these things cheap enough. We can't give you a discount. They're already so low. So it actually will be cheaper for you because of free shipping. So that way. But so check those out. If you have not, if it's your first time being here, I would like you to fill out a survey for us. Tell us what you think about it. Everything else, plus we can get your information to put you on our email list. How many's been getting our email newsletter? Good. I was too busy this month. I'm sorry, I did not get one out, so I will get one out here in a couple of days. But we have been so busy doing so much stuff, so much planning going on. Right now we're developing a MVP board of directors, so that way we can get people that will that really care about the group, that puts their input, and that way we can plan for next year, because we need to start planning now. So guys, check them out. We've got some great speakers today. How many here does a garden? Okay, I just started this year. Now, I call him my master gardener because he's my buddy, my friend, and he has put time and sweat equity in my garden. Gus, yes, yeah, come on over. There you go, Gus, you're hired. No. But Gus St. Clair, you talk to anybody around his neighborhood, he is the garden man. They come to him with questions, things like that, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he looked at me and says, okay, let's do it. So we actually tilled a 20 by 30 garden. It's a traditional style garden. Now you're going to see a couple different styles here. Gus has a different because he doesn't have as much room in his property, but I've got an acre lot. So I did a 20 by 30, and we planted corn, beans, potatoes, peppers. Oh, I got to tell you a story though. We planted one hot pepper for my grandson, and they're jalapenos. Well, he gets the bright idea. He'll go out there and pick one off and eat it. Oh, yes, yes. So he did okay until he ate the seeds. And once that happened, come on in. Once that happened, it was all over. But he loves hot, but he just never had a real hot pepper. So, but he did fine, you know, after we got some milk down him and things like that. But we did tomatoes and everything else, and guys, it is growing bountifully. We're going to get hit with tomatoes. We've got 8 plants in there now, and it's just, you can see they're just spreading everywhere. So I encourage you, if you've not started a garden, you will after today. It's very simple. I am not the smartest or the brightest candle in the bunch, but we actually did it. It wasn't as hard. He kept telling me. I asked him what season would grow. He said, just plant it. What do you mean just plant it? I did all this internet search, all this kind of stuff, you know, drove myself crazy. And when I got out there, I had my little diagram and where I was going to plant everything. And he looked at me and he says, put that down. I said, what are you talking about? He said, put it down. He said, we're going to plant. And yeah, but we want this here in rows. He says, it's a garden. And so once we got it planted and sectioned out, it was awesome. So we're going to be bringing some. I mean, I've already got zucchini that was this big. Plain and simple. Yeah, zucchini. My wife loves cucumbers. She's had fresh cucumbers for the past week and a half. So guys, it's a great renewable food source. How many have dehydrated or freeze-dried food in their home? Okay. You are one box left of starving. 2 is one is none. If you cannot replenish your food stock, you're not going to live. You're not going to make this thing. If something was to ever happen, I should say, even an emergency situation. How many remembers, I've talked about this before, the hurricane. We were down for 11 days without power. What if all the stores would have been out? How would we have eaten? I wasn't prepared at that time. So these are some of the things you really want to look at. Man, it is so easy. Seeds are so cheap. It's just time and consumption. So we're going to welcome Gus. Come on up here, Gus. Let's give him a round of applause. Gus St. Clair. Over there, that way you can turn your...
Okay. I'm Gus St. Clair. I've been landscaping and gardening for over 20 years. Something I enjoy doing. It's bountiful, it's fun, I do things sometimes a little untraditional, but that's what's fun about it for me, is that I just try things. You know, I see somebody else doing something, I'll try it, or I'll add my little touch to doing what they've done. You know, it's like potato barrels, you know, but we'll get into that in a little bit later. But this is just basic gardening. I mean, where do you start? I mean, where do you live? That's what we need to find out, you know, where do you start? Like Tim, he has an acre, okay? We found a spot that was good, sunny, had drainage on it, so we just stripped the sod there, and at the bottom end, the low end of it, that's where we put all the sod. That way it slowed some of the water runoff down, and also it was easy enough when that decomposes to put that rotted sod right back into the garden next year. My place, which is small, you know, that's privacy fence over on the left-hand side. Okay. That's the privacy fence on the left-hand side there. Let's see. That's the middle. And that's the other side. It's not very big, but I've got 16 tomato plants in there, okay? 4 cucumber plants, which this right here is 4 cucumber plants. This is 20-foot long triple row of green beans, okay? It's not very big, but I will have quite a few tomatoes, cucumbers, beans that I can for over the winter. I've got squash in there behind the chair. That is zucchini there, back behind the barrels, squash there. I've also got okra, okay? Probably a total of 15 foot of okra. Okra grows tall, so I put it in the back against the fence, against the garage. That's my garden. No yard to mow, you know, which that's what I like, you know. Then some people, they only have a patio. Okay, if you've got sun on your patio, at least 4 hours of sun, you can grow tomatoes and cucumbers. You know, grow them in a pot. You know, grow a cucumber, a vine cucumber, and then you just put a trellis in the pot. Okay, there's cucumbers, there's tomatoes. You know, tomatoes, you know, a lot of different ways you can preserve them. You know, you can take a bunch of tomatoes and you put them on a cookie sheet, you freeze them. Once they're frozen, you can pick them up, and put them in a Ziploc baggie. That way, you know, if you need 2 for a stew, open the baggie up, that frozen tomato will be able to pick 1, 2, or 3 out at a time, because you froze them singularly on a cookie sheet. You know, you can can them, but tomatoes are just so many uses for them. But that's patio planting. You know, you got to watch your moisture. You got to keep them wet. You know, if you do container gardening, the topsy-turvy things, you know, I've seen people that have excellent luck with those. But they're watering those 3 and 4 times a day. You know, some of us don't have that luxury of watering that often. I don't. You know, I've got a lot of other things to do. This individual, he really had a lot of time. You know, that was patio gardening with a topsy-turvy. You know, so, raised beds. I was at a buddy's house and he had raised beds, but he liked his yard too. So he had these rectangles that were 12 inches high with soil inside of it with a vegetable garden. And then between it all, he had grass. You know, it was really nice, really well organized and everything. And then in the fall, all he did was take out the old stuff, put it in his compost bin, gather leaves from around the yard, put it in the raised bed, And then next year he'll go and take that top part of the leaves that didn't decompose, put them into the composter. But before he put those in, he would take out the composted material from last year or the 2 years before that, put that in and till that all up. But that's one of the advantages of a raised bed. Okay. Soil was excellent. My house is, in downtown Dayton. So only thing it lacked was just a little bit of nutrients. It was really broken up quite well, good topsoil. Tim's was excellent. It was almost virgin ground, for planting. General rule of thumb here in Ohio is to add a little bit of lime every couple of years to your soil. That way that neutralizes the pH. If it is really clay soil, like some of your newer homes, they will strip the topsoil, sell that topsoil, and then just have clay on the top, just enough to grow grass. What you need to do is really add amendments to that clay or just bring in soil. By adding amendments, you can add gypsum, you can add perlite, vermiculite, sand, talk to a farmer. Keep it broke up. You want something to break that clay up. Even and to keep that clay broken up. I'd say, you dig down 18 inches and keep turning that soil, that clay. The best time to do that is in the spring when it's really moist. Even in the late fall, whenever you can get a shovel in, turn that soil. Yes?
Is this clay is pretty good?
Fast. The clay will hold the moisture in, but it will compact hard also. And you want your roots to grow out as fast as they can, to produce. And with clay there, they can't grow fast. They won't go fast. And then, July, August, when it's hot and dry, that clay will be as hard as concrete, once it's dry. Moisture in clay will stay there for a long time. Also, if you dig a hole in clay, pour water in it, it'll stay there forever because you just dug a bathtub. You want something to get that water, to disperse after a while, and clay won't allow that. That's why adding the sand, adding the perlite, the gypsum, the leaf compost. City of Huber Heights here gives away leaf compost. And you put that right on your garden and mix it right in. Check out wherever you live and see what your municipalities will do. A lot of times they'll give that away, the leaf compost, because they collect it in the fall. I go a neighbor and get his leaves. They love it. I sometimes rake their leaves up for them, but also they'll bag it up and I'll get that, So, just use your resources on a lot of this stuff. At a job site, if you pass a construction site, there's a pile of sand there, just go up and ask if you can have 2 5-gallon bucketfuls. Not full, because then it's pretty heavy. It's real heavy. So just get 2 half or 3/4 way full of sand to throw in your garden, just to ask.
We can sell the buckets.
Oh yeah, if you need buckets, we'll sell you buckets, But that's the thing, use resources for your garden. I'll go in the fall and I'll just take the long way home. Because in the fall, a lot of people will throw away their hanging baskets. Well, what do they grow those plants in the hanging baskets?
Potting soil.
Potting soil. Really rich, good potting soil. Well, I'm throwing that in my truck and I'm taking it home, putting it in the garden. That's just using resources, looking around, for your garden. I've got 2 beds that I've been working for years that any time of the year I can go out there and I can just push straight down a shovel and go all the way down. No or very little effort to it, because that is just so rich and loomy that in my tomato plants, I had tomato plants this tall last year. You know, very good tomato plants. Soil content, I mean, watch your sun. Okay, if you're a patio gardener, 4 hours or more is what you need for your sunlight. The sun is different in the summer than it is in the winter. So if you're going to gauge your sun, try to do it, now. That way you see which way the sun goes. Drainage. Can I tell the story? At Tim's house, we looked at the drainage, on the hillside, which was perfect. We had it figured out. I went and got the sod cutter from work, and Tim said, well, I thought we'd move it down another 20 feet. Okay, it's your garden. That's what you want. I'll oblige. I sod cut, got the sod down there. We tilled and everything, and what, a week later? A week later was one of those big storms. You saw it on News Center 7, on Gerlaw, the apartments that flooded. Tim lives across the street.
They were up to the ceilings of the car. Flooded that fast. 7 inches of rain, 7 inches in an hour.
Yeah, 7 inches of rain in an hour in Medway. And that water came across into his yard and into his garden and flooded the bottom half. The potato barrels were ruined because they were submerged for 3-4 days. The corn flourished because the water actually helped that corn soak up the moisture and pop. Okay, the green beans didn't, about half. So he had to replant the green beans. But that's what I'm saying, is that originally we were 20 feet higher. And he thought, let's go down a little bit.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, so what? I mean, we were able to replant, and proceed. No big deal. Next year, I mean, we can even add more to the garden, uphill more, But that's one thing you really got to consider is drainage. Vegetable plants do not like wet feet, meaning wet roots. So watch your drainage. Access to water. Well, there's 150 feet of hose to water Tim's garden. We have priced equipment and piping to get water out to the garden, which isn't too hard. I think it's going to cost about $200 to get pipe and the trencher out to his garden just to get water there. But 150 feet of hose is a little tough to roll up every time you want to mow. Also, rain barrels. Collect your rainwater.
Hey, by the way, we sell those too.
Yes, we do. We got rain barrels for sale. And I mean, there's just so much you can do. And rainwater is very, very, very good for your garden. When I'm running low on rainwater at home, I'll take gallon jugs, fill them up, and let them set. They've got to set for at least a day to get that chlorine out. That's chlorine and is not good for your vegetables. I mean, they've done tests, and I've seen it on YouTube where one plant's this tall and one plant's this tall. The plant that's this tall, non-chlorinated water. So it's... You're wasting your money. A lot of people will think and get at least one hose or one valve that's non-salted when they do their home. If you've got a well or even if you've got a water softener, try to get a valve before the water softener, because that good drinking water from your softener is not good for your plants. So you got to kind of think about that stuff.
A lot of times you want to look for spigots. A lot of them will not go through the softener if it's an outside spigot.
Good.
Yeah, a lot of times, but you got to check, make sure.
Right. Tim was saying about spigots on your house with the water softener. A lot of times they've already done that, but you still have to double check that to make sure that outside spigot is not running through the water softener. Homeowners don't know, and then plumbers will go in there and just do it because they're plumbers, they're not gardeners. Just got to watch what with your watering. But if you're not sure, get a rain barrel. I mean, insects and animals in your garden, around your garden. Where are you located? Okay, I live in a city. I got a problem with squirrels. Last year, I did wonderful because my cats were out a lot and neighbors' cats were out a lot, so they shooed the squirrels away. Okay, I'm going to have a heart trap and trap the squirrels. Take, I think it's 10 miles you need to take your squirrel or any animal you capture so they cannot get home. Okay, but trap them, that's the nice thing to do. Also, they have granules that you can sprinkle around your garden to keep the critters out. Okay, same with Tim's. Tim is out more in the country, but he does have to get rid of the critters. And you can put a little fence up, not nail all the way up. You can nail it halfway up, and then when they climb up the fence, they get to that part that's not nailed, and they'll fall backwards. So they'll jump off. I've seen that happen, not regularly, just a couple times where they fell off and took off. Okay, that's just, I've seen it. I've never read anything about it, but I saw it happen, and that's what I'm doing with my chicken coop. Okay, I haven't had any problems with raccoons. I did see one 3 doors down. I'm taking that precaution. So that's try to manage your critters. So one way or the other, I mean, they'll eat your vegetables up real quick. Insects, I try to use a solution of chewing tobacco and dishwashing soap, or chewing tobacco and dog shampoo. And that's like 1 tablespoon of either soap, and I'll take nylon and a pouch of chewing tobacco, and I'll just work it so that I get that juice from the chewing tobacco, and then I put it in a sprayer, and I'll spray my vegetables when I have aphids, just a variety of insects. I'll try and take care of the insects that way. But I'm going to use 7 Dust or Liquid 7 if trying the natural way is not working. I'm not going to let an insect eat my garden that I've worked so hard for. I want to try it naturally. I want to try it safely. But if that method does not work, I'm going to chemicals. It's not going to hurt you, because it's on the leaves. You wash your fruit and stuff. So that's me. If you plant by seed, I mean, what you're planting, and you plant by seed, there's a couple different varieties of seeds. Okay, you got your heirloom seeds. Heirloom means it's not genetically modified. You can save the seeds of an heirloom plant for the next year. It is recommended to use heirloom seeds, seeds. That way you can keep hold of the seeds. That way you can keep a hold of the seeds from year to year. The only problem with heirloom is that they are not as disease resistant as the newer varieties. So you will have to keep an eye on your diseases. Powdery mildew, black rust on the plants if you use heirloom. So you can go online and see different methods of disease control applications. Also, I mean, try that first, by all means. Always try to use organic pesticides and disease control. And if it doesn't fail, then go chemical. I mean, that's just me. I mean, if you want to go chemical all the way, it's your garden, you know. So,
now, where can you get heirloom seeds at?
you can get heirloom seeds at most of your Ace Hardware, your hardware stores, garden centers. They carry both, but you have to read on the package for heirloom seeds. And you can keep them. I've been fairly successful with keeping seeds from year to year in a vacuum packed and in the freezer. You know, vacuum pack a seed and then put them in the freezer. That's fairly successful by keeping seeds from year to year. Then your hybrids. Your hybrid seeds are just, you know, seeds that they've just genetically, you know, altered. They want to get the best produce out of the seed, so they just keep getting the better and the better and the better, crossbreeding to get the better plant, to get more harvest out of that plant. You know, yes, Tim. Oh. But that's what a lot of, well, most of your seeds are. That's what people want. More plant, more vegetable, more product out of that seed. You know, so they're altering that.
But isn't it true though with a hybrid, if you replant it, you don't know what you're going to get
from the, correct. If you replant that seed from that hybrid, you might and you might not get that type of tomato, peppers, so on and so forth. A couple years ago, I had a tomato start, a seed popped in my front yard. I knew it was from the backyard because I saw the damn tomato that a squirrel drug out. And I just let it go. It started the next year, and I just let it go, just to see what's going on. Okay, it's big, beautiful plant this tall in my front yard. Okay, in the flower bed. It got a nice tomato on it. Oh, I was looking at this tomato. It started small, and it got bigger and bigger, and it was a softball-sized tomato. I'm going, oh my goodness, isn't that gorgeous? I picked it, washed it, cut it in half. It was hollow on the inside. You know, immediately that tomato plant got pulled up, you know. But, you know, that's what I'm saying. I do things different. I wanted to see what it was like. You know, so what, it was in my front flower bed. No big deal. I don't care what the neighbors think, it's my yard. You know, but that's, you know, that was fun. To me it was. It was interesting. So, and if you're not sure about the difference between perennials and annuals, okay, perennial will come back year after year. And annual is what you have to plant every year. Most of your vegetables are annuals, okay? There's some like asparagus that will come up year after year, which would be a perennial. Tomatoes, zucchini, that's an annual. When to plant? I mean, you've done all this to your garden. You've, you know, tilled it. You've put amendments in it. What I do before I till it too is that I'll put in a general fertilizer like a 10-10-10 slow release. To me, some people can get technical and use a spreader. 10-10-10 is fairly safe across all, potassium, magnesium, and I think it's nitrogen. Could be wrong, but those numbers represent how much of those chemicals are in that bag. But me, I just grab a handful and I'll throw it. You know, it scatters pretty evenly doing that. I mean, if you want to get technical, you can get a spreader, calculate it all out, and spread it.
That would be me.
Yeah, yes, that's Tim. Me, I walk through and I just spread it. You know, as long as you don't have a whole handful right there, you're pretty safe. If you have a whole handful in one spot, just kick it around. You know, just go through and kick it around. You know, we're not building a rocket ship. We're planting a garden to have fun with, okay? And plant like this last year. The rule of thumb is you plant after Mother's Day. That's this last year we had a frost up to Mother's Day. You know, yes, you want to get your vegetables started. Yes, you want to get, you know, the tomatoes out. Taking a chance of frost. Yes, sir.
Do you plant with seeds at that point, or do you try to plant with started plants?
Do I plant with seeds or do I plant with started? Tomatoes, that late, I'll plant with plants. You can start tomato seeds and all your other seeds indoors like 6 weeks before Mother's Day. Okay? Zucchini, squash, a lot of your plants that I plant grow quick. Cucumbers, cucumbers, zucchini, squash, green beans, they grow really quick, so I'll use seed. Tomatoes, peppers, jalapeno, banana, sweet bells, I'll use plants because they just take a little bit longer to get going. So that's what I do. I mean, you can do what you want, start everything inside, but I do different things.
Also, too, you can do like a miniature greenhouse to start your own seedlings and stuff. Harbor Freight, I actually bought some already seedlings from another gentleman, and he bought one of those Harbor Freight ones that are like $150, $199, put it on just a little concrete pad, and started all his tomatoes, everything. He had hundreds of them. Starting early, it's all just plastic on the outside, and the sun comes in, and you can grow your seedlings there. Like Gus was talking about, then after Mother's Day, you can plant them all, and you're going to get ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is, just starting early. If you want to take the chance and put your tomatoes out and put your peppers out before Mother's Day, be prepared to run out there and throw a sheet over it, a 5-gallon bucket over it, but do not use plastic over your vegetables when you want to protect them from the frost, because you will get condensation on the inside of the plastic, and then that condensation will freeze. And then it'll, you know, kill your plant, give your plant damage. So that's why you don't use plastic when you go to cover your tender vegetables in case of frost. Use a towel even, or a sheet, something to cover that plant to help keep it from that frost. If you plant before Mother's Day, you know, I don't have that luxury of time, you know, to run out there and do that. I just
Planting, we had a lot of seed starters beforehand, and they were miniature, and we tried to get them out.
Your personal experience is wait until after Mother's Day. In a normal year. I mean, this year actually was about normal, okay, because it frosted up till Mother's Day. You know, last year was a different story. Okay, last frost was at April.
Yeah.
Last year, You know, this year was normal. That's why they had created that Mother's Day thing, because, you know, it frosts up until Mother's Day. I mean, watering, what I've done, I don't know. There we go. These are 5-gallon buckets cut in half. Here's 4 of them there. Those are my tomato plants. What I did was took the base, cut the base off 5-gallon bucket, cut the bucket in half, long way, okay, and then I put that around my tomatoes and peppers. So when I water, I only water right in that bucket. I'm not watering the weeds or the dirt around it. I'm watering right in that bucket. And I can fill that bucket up and let it soak slowly down. And that water's going down for my tomato plant, for my pepper plant, not out around for the weeds. You know, and if I do that, I don't have to water for a couple days because that water is right there, you know, for that specific plant. I saw in Westchester a guy, an older guy, big beautiful garden, but he had bought this stuff that he had put around it for doing the same thing. Well, being a gardener, you know, and I have buckets around, that's what I did. I've also used the containers that the plants came in from nurseries. We're talking 5-gallon, 3-gallon containers. I cut the bottom out, put them right over top of the tomato plant or the pepper plant, and that's where I water. You know, and that's where I continue to water, is in that. You know, 1, I'm conserving water. 2, I'm not watering the weeds. 3, I don't have to water as often because that water is going right there for that plant. I live on a hillside, and right here is a butterfly bush, and it's sitting up higher. And I've collected rocks and, you know, stuff, so I made a little shelf right there so that, you know, below that I can keep the ground fairly level. But the butterfly bush is up a little bit higher. Okay, I've got the advantage because I can collect things from job sites, people's yards that they just don't want stuff, they throw it away. So I do that. And that's what I do. As I'm doing a barrier on my hill, making walls so that it's fairly flat. Now I still have drainage coming away down to here. Still have drainage coming away, okay? But it would have been very steep if I went from point A to point B. So I've terraced this off. Same with over here. This is a little terrace with some rocks. So I've got 2 tomato plants there, you know, and then it's terraced and it graduates down to here. This little rock pile here is actually a ground drain that I put in so that the water will collect there and drain into the next yard. You know, there's just so much you need to think about when you do a garden, but it is kind of simple too. You just think about water washing away. Well, wait, I'll put a couple rocks here, flatten it out a little bit. That way water will stay there for the plant. In the background you see barrels. These are my potato barrels back here. Okay, this is the top of the potato plant. This was taken middle of last week, that picture. I've got dirt all the way up to the top. And then the potato plant has shot up, you know, that high. That's 2 foot above the top. So I'm waiting to see what happens. Okay, maybe I should get a pretty good poundage of potatoes from that. But if that potato was not in the barrel, the footprint would probably be, 4 or 5 feet wide. If kept adding and adding the soil to that potato plant. Now, this method here, the footprint is just that barrel. So I'm conserving space there. Now I've got a walkway that I can walk in front of that with steppers that somebody was throwing away. I picked them up, brought them to the house, stored them on next to the garage. Now I knew what I needed them for, so that I can walk right in front there. If it rains tonight, I can go out there and look at my plants and just use the steppers. I've got bricks that go from here down along the green beans. And then it comes and there's a brick there that I can go from there onto the patio. I don't like walking in mud, okay? I'm a landscaper. I do that in the spring a lot. So I try to do that with the garden. I try to put bricks and steppers so I can walk on those. Let's see.
Also, too, guys, we're coming out with a video of how to do the garden, so it's going to show step by step.
Especially, it gets too hot for the potatoes. The blue, I think, might be mediocre. The white is preferable. That way, it does not heat that soil up. On the cans, on a different plant, a tomato plant, it likes that heat for its roots. Okay, I'm trying something different also this year. Is that before I would dig an 8-inch deep hole, pop the leaves off 8 inches high above the roots, and plant that tomato plant that deep. Okay, 8 inches deep in the ground. And then I would put soil in. Well, somebody was telling me is that why that tomato plant is not taking off as fast is because 8 inches deep, your temperature is different in the springtime. So plant up higher, and your soil temperature will be warmer. Well, using the bucket method of conserving water, what I did is I just added more soil to that bucket so that my roots are higher. I still pinched off the leaves off the stalk, because on a tomato plant you can pinch the leaves off, and at that point it will create roots. So I pinched those leaves off, put them underneath the ground, or underneath the dirt, but higher up in that pot, in that bucket. So that way the roots would be warm quicker and produce more roots. The more roots it creates, the better plant you'll have.
About peas. Peas has a whole different climate.
Peas are different. Peas are springtime.
Right.
Peas like cooler temperatures. Beets like cooler temperatures. I mean, that's what you've got to watch out for also, is that some things like it when it's cooler. So plant a little bit earlier, cover the stuff up with sheets. That way you get peas, get beets. Why you cover it up with sheets is frost protection. But you get them out there earlier because they like that cooler temperature. There's a lot to it, but just look it up, read about it, just do it. I just cleared off, right here. This is my chicken coop here, and where the chair is, I just put seeds out 2 weeks ago because the construction right here was done. We'll see what happens. Okay, I just threw some seeds, cultivated a little bit and put the seeds out. We'll see if it is long enough time for me to get eggplants. Never grown eggplant. Well, I'm gonna try, see what happens. As you can tell here, you see the bricks right here? Okay. That's holding back about 6 inches of soil. That's my green beans. Okay, and they were on a slope. So when we were watering them, the water was coming down. So I just grabbed some bricks and put the bricks there to help hold the water back. You know? So, I mean, that's just bricks I had. And then you can see also the walkways here. There's some bricks there for a walkway. There's a stepper there for a walkway. They're kind of flat, just so you can walk on them and not, you know, walk in the dirt, mud if you, you know, are watering. So it's there's an overview of the garden. Marigolds. Marigolds actually is a natural insecticide. The marigold flower and also the root. There's a whole list of insects that it helps to get rid of. I mean, it helps. Plant marigolds around your garden, and you know, it lightens things up. It's kind of pretty all the time, and it also has a benefit of driving away some insects that'll eat your vegetables. Here's the wall I was telling you about, and right there's that. I just planted 2 more tomato plants there, and they have the black bucket from the landscape nursery that I cut the bottom out and put dirt in it to see what happens. Right here is a citronella plant, and I planted that on a corner on purpose. I walk by it, I kick it. Seriously. And what happens when you kick a citronella plant? It releases the scent. And the scent is what drives away the mosquitoes. Okay? I mean, I don't come up and kick dead center of it, okay? You know, I come by and I kind of brush against it. I kick next to it, you know, but it's still a kick, you know? But it releases the scent. And a citronella plant scent is mosquito deterrent. But, you know, that's why I planted on the corner. I can, you know, go that way and brush up against it, come over this way, brush up against it. Here's a tomato plant here, and these are cabbages. This was a cabbage. I'm sorry, but it was not performing. Okay, those other 3 cabbages were just going like gangbusters. Well, I'm not going to fret about it. I'm sorry, but boom, you're gone. You know, I put a tomato plant there, and it's doing great. This is a 100-gallon tub, and it was right here. I had a water lily in it. This last winter, it killed the water lily. I had it in that spot for 5 years. Okay, it was beautiful. Well, the winter killed it. And I wanted to do something different. So the tub is going to be a rainwater collection spot against the garage when I get around to it. Well, it's 100 gallons, and water weighs 8 pounds per gallon. Okay, that's 800 pounds. So I want to have a good base for that, and then also I need to put block to raise it up so gravity will feed out of that tub. So, you know, I got to dig the dirt out, put a good base down, put the bricks down, or the block, has to be cinder block because they're thicker. Make sure that has a, you know, fairly level, and then put that on there, and then get the downspout to run into it. So that's a pretty good process to go through. Okay, well, like I said, it's around to it. But now this area here, I've filled in with dirt from other plants that didn't make it, some dirt from the chicken coop that's new this year, So I had excavation to do there. So I filled that in with that. Now it's my herb garden right there. Here's tomato plants already here. These tomato plants, 4.5 feet tall. They are an Italian Roma tomato plant. So, you know, they're up there. And I probably have on each one of them a dozen tomatoes. I didn't do anything special. You know, I haven't even used Miracle Grow on them yet. Or anything, I mean, just a general fertilizer that I did at that hole. You know, planted them, you know, a little deep in the ground this far, pulled the leaves off, added that much more dirt above the ground inside the bucket. So it's easy. You got to just also think of what you're going to plant. Okay, they do have a list of companion plantings out there where one plant does better than another plant next to this plant. You know, if you have that much time, you can look at it.
Never plant your corn next to your tomatoes. Never.
Yeah.
Don't know why, but that's what they tell you.
Correct. And garlic.
Yep.
Okay, garlic and onion are good together, but garlic and other plants do not work good together. I remember those. Other than that, you know, just look it up if you have time, you know, and do it that way. I don't have a lot of time, so I plant. I know okra grows taller than a lot of the other plants. That's why against my garage back here, I have a row of okra. Against this privacy fence here, I have a row of okra. I love fresh okra. It does get tall, and it is just like a tree, just a stalk plant. So I can plant that against the fence, against the garage, and grow other stuff below it. There's zucchini back there. That's fairly low growing, but it does go out. Yeah, but the okra grows taller. So I can plant the okra there and the zucchinis down here. You know, it just takes, you know, just think about it, look at the label on the seed package and have fun with it. You know, that's just like the barrels, potato barrels. I saw this, heard about it, watched a couple stupid YouTube things where it was just, okay, buddy, you know. I mean, one was this guy, he took this fertilizer, and then he took another special fertilizer, then he put some vermiculite in it, 3 handfuls of vermiculite to 2 handfuls of gypsum, and it was like, come on, dude, whatever, you know. Yeah, I just grabbed dirt and straw, threw it in there, you know, and they're growing. I'm having fun. It didn't take up a lot of space. The cost was minimal. I know where I got, you know, barrels fairly inexpensive. The trick I did learn about the 55-gallon drums is that I dug a ditch, I'd say 10, 12 inches deep, put some pea gravel on the bottom, and then I put bricks down there for drainage, because you drill holes in the barrels for drainage. Okay, that is, say, 6 to 8 inches lower than the grade where you stand. It was easy to reach over and put the potato start in. At another place, I put it right on top of the ground, put it on a couple bricks to tilt it towards the sun. I couldn't reach down to the bottom because the barrel was like this high. So I had to armpit drop, you know. So it was this, I had a idea of putting them in a trench, and it worked, you know. So it's just having fun, trying things, enjoy the harvest. So in this yard right here, I said I've got, I think, 16 tomato plants. Now I have room for 2 more, and I do have 2 more. That I'll get one here and I'll get one there. So I'll have 18. And I enjoy doing this. You know, I give tomatoes to my neighbors, take them to work, give them out. I've got a neighbor that last year I gave her a couple of zucchinis and she gave me a pint of honey. You know, another neighbor, he's a carpenter. I give him vegetables. You know, now I've got eggs. I'm sharing eggs with the neighbors. You know, and they share with me. You know, it's also a good icebreaker. You know, here, welcome to the neighborhood. Here's a dozen eggs. You know, so it's good. It's what I like to do. And I also put it up for the winter time. You know, I freeze it, I can it. That's a whole nother story. What I like to do. Any questions? Yes. Not necessarily at the end of the year. To maintain your weeds, you need to do that in the spring or when you're doing your garden. Okay, at the end of the year, I usually try to pull all my plants out, put all of them in the compost area, and if you do have access to leaves, put the leaves in your garden. You know, that way they will compost down. That way the worms are going to reproduce and make your soil looser. The worms will, okay, and it will break down. That's why when I said breaking off that top layer of leaves, the top layer usually does not break down, you know, over the winter. The bottom layer, where it's stayed moist and everything, will break down, and you can incorporate that into your garden, till it in. But if I have time, you know, that's what I do. There was a gentleman where I buy some tomatoes and peppers from. He leaves the leaves on all year. He collects the leaves, you know, and just leaves them on his garden. To me, I think that would promote powdery mildew, which I'm starting to have a problem with now. Powdery mildew is caused by too much rain. So what do we have? What have we had this year? A lot of rain. So the cucumbers I'm starting to see a sign of powdery mildew. That's just like a white coating on your leaves. What I'm going to try first to get that resolved is take some of the leaves off of that plant and throw them away. Put them in the composter or just trash them. Some diseases and insects you've got to be very careful with. You can put them in your composter as long as your composter gets hot. The hotter it is, the quicker it'll break down. Or you just trash it. You know. So.
Any other questions, guys? That don't have land. What if you lived in an apartment? Okay, let's think of this as, he was talking about trading commodity. Guys, think about how much you would be, your neighbors didn't have anything, what you could trade with them. If you grew more, because it's so easy to grow more in a garden than what you need. I mean, we're having cucumbers coming out of our ears now, and they're all growing at one time. So that's why we're gonna start canning, but there's no way possible that we could eat everything we're growing. There's no way. So what do? You start making friends with your neighbors. You start making friends in the group, everything else. So this is kind of the stuff you need to think about. Now let's think about an apartment complex. Does anybody live in an apartment complex or a condo? Nick, okay. Think of this. Why not doing potted plants? My wife tried strawberries this year instead of us, because we wanted to plant certain plants in the garden, but she wanted strawberries. She loves fresh strawberries. And man, they are costing a fortune. They just keep going up and up. So what she did is she went and bought some plants and put them in planters, and they're around our house. They're beautiful. They're growing over, they're gorgeous, and they're producing strawberries huge. Okay? What about hanging baskets that are on your porch that look beautiful and they're aesthetically nice? You can do that. I've heard of people taking, instead of shrubbery, taking blueberry bushes, taking strawberry bushes, whatever, and planting these as what you do, you know, as far as landscaping and things like that, and making them beautiful, but they're growing them in their flower beds. Guys, there's all kinds of ways to do this. You don't have to just stick with the traditional garden like I have if you don't have the property. Or, like we said, do raised bed gardening. That is one of the easiest ways to do it. You have to think, we've got to think of this process. Okay, what would I do if I didn't have food to get? Would I be able to sustain myself? Well, then after you get past that point, would I be able to sustain some of my neighbors? Because I guarantee you, if you need a car worked on, you need a mechanic, because I'm not a mechanic. So I'm going to go find me a mechanic that I can give strawberries to and corn and beans and all this other kind of stuff. So I know this thing, you know, we're not talking about the end of the world, but we are talking about helping your neighbor and they help you. So guys, this is a great opportunity. So I encourage you, Gus will be here the rest of the day to be able to talk about gardening. If you have any other questions, anything else, any other, did you guys enjoy it? Yeah. Come on. Thank you so much, my friend.
Oh,
go ahead.
Another point is a lot of your communities offer
Yes.
garden spots.
Yep.
Okay. A friend of mine, from church, he actually has a spot out at Wegerson Gardens.
Yep.
And that's what they do, is that they'll till up a big plot of land, and then I think it's like $20 for the whole year.
Yep.
But the Wegerson will till that and give him a plot for the whole year to do something with.
Now, I have to tell you something too. This guy does not have just one garden. Don't let him fool you. He has a whole other piece of property with a whole huge garden on it too. Okay, that's how much he loves this stuff. But this is his home he's showing you here. The other garden is huge. So, and he's got friends that let him use his property. Next year, I'm going to go 3 times the size on our gardens. So that's the thing. He loves it. I'm enjoying it. I'm not enjoying the weeding as much, but you know, that's okay. You know, that's okay. But like, if you don't have a tiller, you can rent one. We have an Ace Hardware just down the road. Get a rear, is it tine, is it called?
Real tine.
A rear tine. Don't get the front because the front jumps. You want the weight in the back so it digs down deep. And we went twice over my ground because it wasn't going deep enough, we didn't think. So we actually did it twice, did it diagonal and then crossways. Well, it worked out great. I mean, you could just put your hand in it, it would go all the way down. So, or you got a friend. Here we are. Hey, I'm planting a garden. Can I borrow your tiller? You're not planting corn this year? Well, I'm going to plant corn. We'll split it, you know, or whatever. It doesn't have to cost a bundle. I mean, my gosh, what did I get beans for? What, $1.29? And I could have planted 30 rows of beans. Where in the world are you going to do that at? But you go to the store and you're going to pay $20 for this stuff. It's ridiculous, but it is so easy. And if you do the community garden, I know Vandalia, they were telling me, I think Dan does it, they have a huge community garden in Vandalia. I mean, and they set up water barrels, so they put their water in them, and you have plenty of access. So guys, investigate your community too, definitely. Anything else? All right. Well, guys, we want to thank you for this. Thank you, Gus, again. We've got a special speaker coming up. I want to give everybody a break. We're getting about a 10-minute break, if that's okay. We've got pop machines back there. The guys didn't.
I have nothing in my ear.
Condor. There we
That's
go.
right.
There we go. My wife says that all the time. All right. Guys, let's think about a situation that you would come up with. We're talking about emergency preparedness. If something happens that you lose power, whatever, it's pretty easy to think, you know, hey, I can stay in my home for a few days, or if you've been prepping for a few months. But what happens if it goes further than that? What happens if we have an EMP, let's say, or let's say a grid down situation from anything? Let's say my Lord, a nuclear meltdown. I mean, who knows? You just don't know. A power plant. We don't know these things. Well, we've brought an expert in, and I can tell you this because through Shooter's Paradise, they have been offering special classes. They've been offering long-distance shooting. They've been offering advanced pistol training classes. Now, when was the date for the new one?
I've got it right here.
Okay, he's going to bring it up, so I'll let Jeff do it. But Shooter's Paradise, which John is not here today. Shame on you, John. You should be here, buddy. But I've grown to love John. He has just been a great friend of mine, and they would come to the gun shows for Shooter's Paradise, and I actually we would be right next to each other, and I got to know Jeff really well. We would just start talking. He would be describing his classes because actually Jeff is offering special survival training classes that they're going to be offering at a future date. I'm not sure if you have any dates right now.
It's going to depend on demand, and
Okay.
we'll put it together.
Okay. And they're going to be offering that to us too. So guys, I'm telling you, if you want to know what it's going to take, we're going to talk about the survival mindset tonight. And what's that? It's the wrong day. The wrong day. Well, we'll get that here. But this is what we're looking at. What would you do in a grid down situation? What would you do just if in a hurricane situation? What if you were visiting people in Florida? What would you do? Could you survive? So we're going to talk about the mindset today, and I want to welcome Jeff Stapleton today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming. I want you to give a little background where you're from, too.
Thank you. I'm kind of a busy person when I talk, so I'll probably be walking around. Might be hard to keep an eyeball on me at sometimes. I might be right behind you. You never know. Little background. I spent 25 years in the United States Army. I was an airborne ranger.
Yes.
Whoa, Rangers. How many military people we got in here? All right. Any of you ever done any type of psychological survival training? Okay, so some of you will know what I'm talking about. If you want to chime in on something, if I forget something or want to iterate something, please do so. I've also been to Pathfinder School. That's where you find your way around. I'm an expert at finding my way around, getting you in and out. I can do that without a problem. Yeah, that's before they started giving it away. This was back in the 70s when it was a real school. That was back in the 70s when I was a ranger, too, when it was a real school. But anyway, now I lost my train of thought here. Oh, as far as different environments and training, we can do different seasonal trainings. I was an instructor for urban warfare. That's in the city, fighting in the city. I was also an instructor at the Northern Warfare Survival Center in Alaska. So if you want to get down and dirty with the cold, I can do that too. I'm also a jungle expert, which, by the way, the United States Army just brought back, HUA, yep, this year. So they're training jungle expert again. And, of course, mountaineering, all that other good stuff that comes along with the training that you get. So what I'm telling you is I can provide you with some really good, top-quality training. It is resource intensive. It is time intensive to do so. So I have to have a demand for it for me to set it up. So if anybody's interested in that, you got to get a hold of Shooter's Paradise, let them know, or let me know, and I will be more than happy to accommodate that.
How many here would be interested in something like this? Raise your hands. There you go, brother.
Okay, cool. I have from basic through advanced courses too. How many wants to go just beyond the basics and just get down to business? Okay.
How many wants to do naked and afraid?
Yeah, there we go. We can do that. Of course, I don't know how many of you here I'd want to see naked, though. I mean, that might be.
That's maybe you should be afraid of.
Yeah, afraid of seeing people naked, right? Okay, this is a basic course right here. I just wanted to give you kind of introduction of what we do in the basic course. You'll get the psychology of survival, which I'm about to go over, and I'm just going to highlight it and go over some basics. I've given you a handout there that you can look at. You can research some of this online too. If you look in the Ranger Handbook, which is also available online, it also details this, and this is actually an extract from that. Maintenance and health, that's taking care of yourself in a survival environment. There's a lot to that. You know, you just can't get out there and just hang out. And there's personal hygiene and there's health issues that you got to definitely watch for. Natural disasters, I would go over each type of disaster with you and some of the basics that you can do to prepare for that. My wife thinks I'm a psycho. Tornadoes, I come up with this bright idea, and some of you may want to do this. I actually have steel containers bolted down in my garage in case my house blows away. I've still got supplies. Okay? She thinks I'm a little... But she'd appreciate that food and water, wouldn't she?
That's exactly right.
Preparedness checklist. I've got a comprehensive checklist that I can go over with you, and that includes anything from, you know, your food and your survival stuff to actually paperwork. Anybody think about paperwork? Your wills, your power of attorneys, your driver's license, your marriage license, all those types of things that you normally don't think about in those situations. You know, where are you going to put all that stuff in a disaster so you can get to it? We have a major disaster, where are you going to go to get it replaced? Basic first aid, and I think you got a good class coming up on that, CPR and stuff like that. We go just a little bit beyond the basics. Land navigation, basic land nav, how to use a compass, how to orientate, how to use terrain association, just how to do basic moving around so you can find out where you're at and where you want to be. Shelters, all the basic shelters from the spring, summer, and winter stuff. So if you find yourself out in the middle of nowhere and you got to make a hasty shelter, you can get out of the elements and survive that. Water treatment, there's probably a list a mile long of the different techniques you can do for that. We just go through the basics. And field day, that's your test day. We take you out to the field, we put you out in the environment, we'll break you down into teams, and we say, this is your scenario, go to work, you got X amount of time to do it. So it puts you under the gun, it puts you under pressure, it tests you to see a little bit about what you can do. Any questions on that?
What is Shooter's Paradise charge for one of these classes?
I think he was charging about 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah, yeah.
$350.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And this is for how many days?
That's per family.
Yeah, per family.
Oh, per family.
Yeah. Yeah, 100. You're right. 150 per person. Yeah.
150 per person, 350 for family. Wow.
And is that like all day or is that evenings? Or?
The classes, the actual classroom, are 2 hours a night, Monday through Friday. The actual field exercises on a Saturday. Okay, is that what you wanted to know?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I should have.
You're fine.
Been a while since I've been doing this stuff. I've been out taking care of other things.
Now you got to tell them what you've been, what they've been trying to get you to do, Mr. Banger.
Oh, yeah, I've
Tell
got.
them a little bit about yourself. Yeah.
I retired at the highest rank you can get in the United States Army, by the way. I was one of them old grumpy-ass command sergeant majors that you've probably seen before. Can I cuss?
We can edit.
Okay, that's good. But anyway, what I do for a living now is I'm the executive director for Miami County Veteran Services, and I take care of veterans' benefits. Absolutely not to be confused with Veterans Affairs. I am the advocate against Veterans Affairs. I'm the guy that they don't want to hear on the phone or the guy they don't want in their office, trust me. We have a national organization, and they have asked me to come on board to be a representative in Congress for legislation for veterans. I'm probably not going to do it this year. I just have too much on my plate, but I'm considering doing that next year so we can try to get this VA straight, get these issues taken care of for our soldiers.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And I'm going to leave some business cards up here too, by the way. If you are a veteran or you know somebody that is a veteran and they need any assistance, you don't have to live in Miami County to come to my office, okay? All right. If I can get this thing to work again. Come on. Making me look bad here. I found this picture on the internet and I thought it was kind of amusing. You guys go through all these classes and you go through all these checklists and you do all this preparation and you got all this equipment and all this gear together and you're ready to go, man. You can take on the world. It's not a problem, right? Has anybody ever thought about the psychological aspects and how that's going to affect you? Can you cut the mustard? Are you tough enough to be out there in the environment and to survive? And do you know what to expect physically and emotionally? And what those emotional aspects will do to you physically?
Yes.
Yes. Oop, wrong way. Okay, I'm going to have to go through my notes here to make sure I don't miss anything. But we're going to talk about the psychology of survival today. So the psychology of survival is more than just about your knowledge and skills, okay? It's about the environment that you're in and the impact that the stress of your environment puts you under. That's the real test. Like I said, you can train all day long, you can have the best equipment in the world, but if you don't have the right mindset, you're not setting yourself up for success, you're setting yourself up for failure. You can get people that are most high-speed trained people in the world, and I'll give you a real-world example for me. We were at Fort Irwin, California, out in the middle of the desert, and we got brought in by Blackhawks and inserted to go do a mission, training. One of our guys got separated, and we're talking about Death Valley out in the middle of nowhere, hundreds of square miles of nothing. He was well-trained, very well-trained. We found him a week later dead. You know why? Because he gave up. He laid all of his equipment next to him and he laid down and he died. He didn't have the right mindset. He freaked out. Oh my God, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I have nothing. There's nothing, no one around. He wasn't thinking about all that training that he had. So that's the mindset you got to get into. The first thing you get into a bad situation, the first thing you got to do is assess that situation. You got to say, oh man, here I am. What do I have with me? What do I have to survive? What type of environment am I in? What can I use in that environment to help me survive? And oh, by the way, I'm going to survive, okay? There's just no way I'm not going to. That is my whole mission in life right now, is to focus on survival. I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to get back to my family and it's going to be all good. Never, ever, ever quit or give up. And you can look through these slides if you want. I'm just going through general stuff here. Okay, let's take a look at stress itself. Stress can be a good thing. Stress can motivate you, get you to, to do things that you need to do. If you think about different situations you've personally been in where you've been under stress, can you think of any situation that you were motivated to do something because you were under that stress? Yeah. I know we got ex-military and we got law enforcement in here, and you think, yeah, probably on a daily basis for law enforcement guys. Training, knowledge, and preparation are part of that. In that preparation phase, it's all about the mental aspects. It's all about your attitude. It's all about how you think about things, how you look at things. Okay? Attitude is everything. And you can stop me at any time if you have a question as we go through here. Like I said, you have a need for stress. It motivates you. It challenges you. It tests your values and strengths. It tests your adaptability and your flexibility in situations. Stress can also lead to distress, though, and distress is a problem. That's where you get more than one thing going on at one time, and all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, the sun's out, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and I'm gathering stuff for fire, or I'm gathering stuff to build a shelter, and I'm wondering where I'm going to get my water. All of a sudden, here comes this huge storm in. Okay? Now you're standing out in the pouring rain, you're soaking wet, you have no shelter, now you're stressed. Now you have more than one stressor, and now it's lightning around you. Now the wind starts to blow, and you're like, man, can it just get any better? Huh? That's right. Oh yeah, and then it's going to get cold. I am not good with this thing. Here we go. All right, let's talk about some of the things that, excuse me, some of the things that are common stress and that happen to you. Difficulty making decisions. You ever been stressed out and like, oh man, you're trying to think clearly and you're trying to think about what you want to do, but you just can't quite get there?
It's called a brain fart.
Yeah, it's called a brain fart. Angry outbursts, and that coincides with frustration. You're like, oh man, Forgetfulness. You start making mistakes, you start forgetting to do stuff that could be life or death situation for you. Get low on energy. Constantly worrying about everything. Then you have the potential to make mistakes. Then you start thinking about death or suicide. Well, maybe I should just end it all right here, right now, and just that way I don't have to suffer type thing. Trouble getting along with others, if you're with a group. Withdrawal from others, which is absolutely one of the worst things you could do because you got to work together as a team to survive out there. And hiding from responsibility. You don't want nothing to do with anything. You're just withdrawing up inside yourself. And just being plain careless. Let's talk about a little bit about what the body does when you get under stress. You ever get that warm feeling in the back of your neck? And you get mad, get the blood pumping a little bit. Well, this is what it says about stress. The body releases fuels or sugars and fats to provide quick energy. So that's kind of like the adrenaline thing. You get going, okay? Your breathing rate increases to supply oxygen to the blood. That's for your muscles. Your muscles tense up. So, you know, you're ready for action, that type of thing. Blood clotting mechanisms activate. So if you get, you know, wounded or cut or something like that, it helps you with that. And your senses and heightened, you know, your sense of sight, your sense of smell, your hearing, all that stuff just magnifies. Anybody been in a situation like that? Or can you think back? Yeah.
The weirdest stuff, some of the things that should have been plain as day, you don't even see.
Yep, absolutely. So, your body gets into that kind of a situation. It's letting you know that you're where you need to be on the stress level. Your body's reacting. So what might be stressful for one person might not be so stressful for another. You know, I go, oh man, grow up. You know, grab your whatever and move out, man. It's all good, you know. Stop crying because you're wet. And the other guy might be, don't care about nothing. Nothing bothers them. I know guys like that. Okay, let's see. I apologize for having to go through this. I just kind of did this on the fly because I've been so busy. I've been out of state doing other things. And
Glad to have you.
I appreciate that. Oh. Okay, we did all that. Let's go to the next slide. Maybe I can get it right this time. Did it. Okay, we talked about one thing being stress and a whole bunch of things together being stressors. When stressors add up, that's not a good situation to be in. We talked about how the body reacts when you get into that situation. Let's talk about some of the things that do that. In a survival environment, if you get injured, I don't care if it's just when you're hammering something and you bruise your finger or bust a finger or something like that, it's magnified 100 times of what it would normally be. So you really got to be careful when you're out there and pay attention to exactly what you're doing, because injuries, although may seem small and significant at the time, can really get out of control and be very significant to you. So you got to be careful. You do not want to get hurt for any reason. You might have made a bad decision. You're so thirsty you can't stand it, and there's that nice little puddle over there you've been staring at for the past 3 days, and you know you're on day 3 and you're getting weak and you got to put some water in your system or you're just not going to make it. So you drink a little bit of it. Oh, that was a bad idea, because now you got dysentery or something going on. You know, stomach's all tore up and it's coming out both ends, all 3 ends, whatever you want to call it. Not a good situation. You hear me okay?
Okay, we're good.
Me to.
If you speak louder, we'll have you hold the microphone.
I'll speak up a little bit. I'm sorry. If I get a little bit too low for you, just let me know. Yeah, accidents are really bad because you have to triage yourself if you're in a lone situation. You've got to medicate yourself. You've got to bandage yourself up for whatever you have, and you may not have much of anything to do that with. So all of a sudden we've got infections going. We've got all kinds of bad things happening that you don't want to. And all that is preventive as long as you just take your time and you don't panic and you assess the situation. You look at the surroundings that you're in and you go from there, okay? Some of the special considerations that you might want to look at. Anytime you travel anywhere, you're going out on maybe some little adventure training, or you're going camping, or maybe you're going to the Ozarks, or you're going somewhere down in Tennessee to do some hiking, or you're up on the Appalachian Trail, or whatever you're doing. Plan that ahead of time. Know where you're going. Know what type of environment that you're in. Make sure you try to take a map with you if you're doing that kind of stuff. The internet is a great resource. You know, I've been in the Appalachians quite a bit, so I know quite a bit about it. It's a great place, but you got to be careful because it will hurt you. I know from personal experience. Know what kind of environment that is. Know what season that you're going into and what the environmental hazards are in that season. Okay? Know what type of edible plants there are out there. Know what type of critters there are out there. Because there may be edible critters, but there also may be critters that want to eat you too. Okay? So you got to watch that kind of stuff. It's just situational awareness, a little bit of planning ahead of time, and being prepared for what you're going to be doing. Okay? This thing's not working very well. Talked a little bit about the environment. Anybody got any questions about the environment or planning ahead of time for that?
Now, when you be planning ahead, let's say that I know I've been trained to have maps of close to our area for the house, things like that.
Right.
But what if you're in another demographic? Let's say you're traveling from state to state. Would it be safe to say that you would want to carry a map of every state?
Oh, absolutely. Or one of those atlases or something like that. I mean, even if you're going on an airplane, if you know what the route of that airplane's flight, what path it's going to take you over, and you crash and you're the lucky guy that survives, okay, and you're out in the middle of the woods and nowhere, somewhere upstate Washington or something, out in the middle of thousands of square miles of woods, at least okay, I know where I'm at terrain-wise. I'm in Washington because I can tell by the trees and the terrain around me where I'm at, So that's always a good idea to do that, okay?
The USGS, you can get on their website and you can order maps, 1 over 50,000 maps is what we use in the military.
Right.
And you can get those topographic maps, and they're only a couple bucks for just about any region that you want to be in.
Where is that, USGS?
Yeah, USGS, yep.
They also, because I did this just last weekend, if you go to this website for the topographical maps and you have a screenshot saving ability, you can actually find a map of the area you want to go to, take a screenshot of it. I have about a page-sized map of the Germantown Dam because that's what I got recently. So you can get specific areas.
Oh yeah,
for
absolutely.
The map. The only trouble is if you do it that way, you're not going to get the scale, you're not going to get the overlays, and the really big benefits that you're going to get from a professionally produced topographical maps. That will give you key features such as possibly power lines and other real big landmarks that will help you navigate and locate to where you're at.
Google Maps is good for some of that stuff to get an idea of what you're going to see there, but I know from first-hand experience, even doing aerial reconnaissance, a lot of that vegetation will hide some of the terrain features that you're going to need or see. So it might look good looking at that aerial map. Oh, that's cool. Here's a road here. But what you don't see under that vegetation, under that canopy, is that 30-foot ravine that's going to stop you from getting to that road. So the USGS topographical maps are the best way to go.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we do.
They make apps for Android and iOS.
Yeah, you can download them on your iPhone or whatever. Yeah.
Topographical maps by county here in Ohio.
Yeah.
And it's all for free.
Yep, that's a good point. You sure can. Yeah.
Tell them on the video, explaining what you just said.
You can go. What's the name of the website?
It's an app, and it's done by Trimble. It's Backpacker Plus.
Okay, Backpacker Plus. You can go on there and download, and all the apps are free for the state of Ohio as far as all the maps go. You just got to surf the web a little bit because there is a lot of free applications out there for the phones themselves. 1 over 50,000th map is the best way to go. Okay, that is the most, for me, that's the most familiar, most detailed map that you can get. And as he said about the terrain, you might look at something on the map, but if you look at the contour lines and they're like really, really close together, you're going to be in for a treat. Okay, so exactly. And when if you have to move to get out of a situation, that's human nature to take the path of least resistance. So that's not always good, keep in mind. Hunger and thirst are a couple of those things that'll really stress you out bad. And how many days can we go without water? 3 days, okay? So is that like a priority as soon as your feet hit the ground? What would be the priorities as soon as you get yourself into a survival situation? What's number one?
Actually, shelter.
Shelter. You got to get out of the elements.
Yep.
Got to get out of the elements because you don't know what Mother Nature is going to deliver to you. Number two.
What's that?
Number two.
I'd say fire.
No, it actually water.
Yeah, it's got to be water.
Yeah.
Got to find you a water source.
Yep.
Then you can go to the fire, and then you can go to the food.
Yep.
Okay. And how long a period of time does it take before your mind starts going away from you if you don't have protein?
That I don't know.
Overnight?
Depends on the mind.
About 5 minutes for me.
Yeah. You can operate for about, I think 21 days is about the limit, and then you're done. I mean, you'll be wandering around like a zombie.
Yeah, the standard is you've got three hours for shelter. Depends on your climate.
Right.
3 days for water.
Yep.
3 weeks for food.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. So just keep that in mind. Get yourself in that type of situation.
Your cognitive abilities actually start to deteriorate within the first couple of days.
Oh yeah, you'll notice a difference.
21-day period, that's when you're on Walking Dead.
Yeah, you're out there and you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
And it depends on the individual too. You know, what's your body mass? How much, fat content do you have? I mean, for guys in the military, it's usually 6% or less. So.
With that, is it better to have some extra meat on you, or is it good to actually be able to function with a small amount of food? Which one is actually...
Actually, the small amount of food, and the healthier you are and the leaner you are, the better. Yeah. The problem is that when you start to get to that point to where your body's starving itself, it's actually eating itself is what it's doing. So, the fat content's not going to matter. It's going to eat. Your body is going to eat to take care of itself. So it's going to take the fat along with the muscle. It doesn't care. It's not choosy about that at that time. So, any other questions about that? Fear. Who was that said we don't have anything to fear but fear itself?
Yeah.
Okay. How can you be scared of something you don't know about? People are afraid of the dark. They put their little night light out. That's the biggest thing is the nighttime. But don't let yourself succumb to that kind of fear where it makes you doubt yourself and it makes you doubt your abilities to what you're doing. Have the mindset that, okay, I don't know what that is coming up. I can't see very far out here tonight in the dark. But why would I be scared of something if I really don't know what it is? That's the kind of mindset you got to have. Fear will eat you up. Fear will make you panic, make you do stupid stuff, make you hurt yourself, all kinds of things. Anxiety. Anybody ever feel anxious? Have a little anxiety attack going once in a while? I think that's synonymous with our society today, anxiety. Everybody gets anxious about things. Fear and anxiety and anger and all that, they kind of all go together. And they accumulate, and that causes stressors, which cause a lot of problems that we talked about earlier about being able to think and be able to react, your energy, and being able to do things. This particular picture here is of a group of gentlemen from the 82nd Airborne, HUA, getting ready to go jump. Full combat jump, by the way. Think they're not a little anxious? But most of them, to include myself, don't let that overcome me, because you got to concentrate. When you go red light, which means get ready, then you go yellow light, and that means you're about out the door, brother. And you go green light, and you get pushed out that aircraft because you don't have a choice. You got to pay attention, because you can get hurt.
Can you say anxiety could be squashed a little bit by training?
It sure can. And
Familiarity.
Yeah.
here's a big killer right here. Anybody here ever been depressed?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, depression will stop you in your tracks. It will bring you down to absolutely nothing. and it will definitely cause your death in a survival environment, okay? Never let yourself get to that point. Keep yourself occupied. Keep your mind going. Keep moving. Keep thinking about the things you need to do to survive. Don't sit around and harp on, you know, am I going to die today? Am I going to die tomorrow? Is that bear in that tent going to drag me out tomorrow morning? You know, those types of things, okay? Depression is definitely a showstopper, and you want to avoid it at all costs. Some of the ways you can do that now without being in a stressful environment is your diet and exercise. Those are the two big things that are the biggest relievers of stress. Yep. The endorphins in your body when you're running or working out helps relieve that stress.
And what about the eating though?
The eating is just eating healthy,
Okay.
so you're not a sickly type person.
Start with a Diet Coke.
Yeah.
They get on me on my Coke habit.
Yeah. Don't order 2 large pizzas and eat 3/4 of all of it. Loneliness and boredom. You know, in a survival situation, and they put this up here, but I don't quite understand it totally, because you need to keep yourself occupied at all times. There's always something you can be doing to improve your situation, to improve your condition. You know, while you're out walking around and you're scouting the area and you're looking for food and you're looking for water or whatever it is, or materials for shelter, you can be gathering firewood. You know, you got one armful of firewood, and then you got the other one looking around. Don't pass that stuff up. Whenever you have an opportunity to do something or get a resource, grab it. If you see some berries out there that are edible, or some plant that's edible, grab a little bit of it. If you see some foliage out there that's dry and you know you can use it to start a fire, keep your fire going, grab it. You know, don't pass up an opportunity. If you have to sit there and draw pictures in the dirt to keep yourself occupied and keep your mind off of stuff, that's literally what you got to do. You know, an idle mind is very dangerous. An idle mind will get you into that depressive state, and it'll cause you not to have that will to survive.
Saying the idle hands are the devil's workshop.
Exactly, and they are. Yep, they sure are. We never had that problem in the military because there was always somebody out there yelling at us to do something. Sleep, that's an option. Not today. Not today. 72 hours continuous ops, and we'll talk about it. Guilt trip, you know, you get out there, you're in an accident or something, or that infamous plane crash that you get into, and you're one of the lone survivors, and you're like, oh, it should have been me, not the other person. You know, you can't worry about that guilt thing right now. You know, you got to worry about yourself. You know, guilt is just one of those human nature type things that comes up in your thoughts, but you got to try to stay away from that as much as possible. Oop. I love this thing. All right. Couple things I want to iterate here. Your mission when you get out into the survival environment is to what? Survive, right? Stay alive. You're going to experience an assortment of all kinds of emotions that we talked about earlier, right?
Yep.
You need to work on whatever your shortcomings are. You can mind game all kinds of stuff all day long. Nobody knows you better than you know yourself. Or maybe your spouse does. Mine seems to know me better than I know myself. But you really got to think about those types of things, and think about all the life experiences that you've had. You know, if you were in a car accident, or you got frostbite out somewhere, or you know, in your childhood you half starved to death because you didn't have money to eat, and how that made you feel and how you reacted to that. Just all kinds of life experiences you can draw back on, so you know how you're going to react. And the more you can prepare and the more you can think about those types of things, the better off you're going to be, because it's not going to be a surprise to you when your body goes into that mode and you start to get the anxiety, you start to feel the stress, and things go south for you, okay? How you react now and your life experiences are very, very important. I can't emphasize that enough. Training, as they say in the military, training is everything and everything is training. So you're constantly exercising and training your mind. You're thinking about how would I react in that situation? Would I get mad? Would I fight through? Would I run? Would I panic? What would I do in that situation? You can do that just walking out here in this parking lot. Okay, what would I do if somebody jumped me with a gun right now and I was in the parking lot? What would you do? Would you panic? Would you die? You'd shoot them, I'm sure of it.
We have a saying, I don't know if it correlates to anybody else has it. We usually steal stuff from everybody else in the military too, but you don't rise to the occasion, you download your training.
There you go.
So if you're thinking that you're going to get this hero complex and all of a sudden this adrenaline dump is going to give you the
superpowers,
to lift that car off of somebody, and you're going to dodge something,
right?
You're just going to kick somebody's ass because you're just so jacked up on adrenaline. If you don't have any experience or training in that arena, chances are you're going to be in for serious disappointment.
Absolutely. Remember what I said, training is everything and everything is training. You got to work through those scenarios, you know. It's nothing like, you know, the CCW issue. Everybody gets their gun. Oh man, I'm qualified now. You know? First time the guy tries to pull the gun, it gets stuck in his trousers. He shoots himself in the foot. And then he ends up in a hurt locker because the dude, you know, after the guy stops laughing so hard, takes his wallet and goes on about his business because you helped that guy, you know. So you got to train. You know, if you're going to carry a firearm, that's a big responsibility. And you have to go through those scenarios so you know what to do in different situations. That's, you know, the CCW is only the first step. That's the same thing in hand-to-hand. You know, your situational awareness in anything. You get out of your car at Walmart. Somebody's watching you, and that's very possible. Somebody is watching. They're casing you out, man. They are strung out on heroin. They need a fix, and they're getting that money one way or the other. And you look like a good target. Oh, he looks like a nice guy. I bet I could beat his ass. Take his wallet. Think about that. Think about somebody jumping you. How would you act physically? Maybe you didn't have a gun on you that day. Maybe you don't carry a CCW. Do you have any self-defense skills? Can you protect yourself? Above all, protect yourself so you can protect your family. Because you might have your wife and child with you. That might not be a good situation. I will tell you a true story about Texas, right outside of Fort Hood, Texas. There's a lot of gang banging going on out there. There's a lot of drugs. My wife and my 2 kids and I went to a steakhouse to eat. We got out of the truck in the parking lot and was walking across the parking lot. Here comes Mr. Meth Head, strung out for days, pulls a knife on me, going to take my money. I pulled a gun on him. Guess who won that fight? I didn't have to pull the trigger or anything. He freaked and ran off, probably urine running down his leg, I'm not sure. But, you know, you get in those situations. I didn't panic. I was calm, cool, collect. I pushed my family back out of the way, and I engaged him. And I'm like, this isn't going to work out for you today, guy. That's the one and only time I've ever had to pull a firearm. Wow. But you know what? I practice it in my mind all the time. Yeah. John, he did the home protection stuff. Yep. That's all really good information. But guess what? If you don't practice it, it's not worth 2 cents. That's right. Okay? The time to try to see if that works out in your mind is when somebody kicks your door in or just walks in because you don't have your door locked and you're sitting there in your recliner with your piece of pizza training. Okay? And they've got you. Okay? Yeah. All right. Attitude. Attitude is everything. You've got to maintain a positive attitude no matter what you do, no matter what your situation is. And I know, ladies and gentlemen, that's hard to say. It's harder to do. But your attitude is everything. What you see and how you perceive things is going to help you survive. You have got to be positive in a bad situation. You've got to look at the positive side of everything. First night out, well, at least I got shelter. Might not have any food or water, but thank God I got some shelter because it's raining like 10 of them right now, and the temperature's going to drop 30 degrees. Yeah. Next day, found some water. Good, man. We're good to go there. You know, you just got to think about the little things and stay positive about that. And you always got to have goals too. You know, part of surviving is, you know, there's people back in the real world that are dependent on me. And every time I got deployed into a combat situation, that was the number one thing. First, I prayed to the good Lord. And the second, I said, okay, I'm coming home to my family. It's not that you should die for your country, it's that that other poor bastard should die for his. That was our attitude. So, Ranger up. Cool? So your attitude is everything. Adapt in every situation. Whatever the odds are, whatever the terrain is, whatever the weather is, whatever the situation is, whether you're healthy, you're hurt, whatever, you have to overcome and adapt to that situation. Don't let it get the best of you. If you got a sprained leg and you got to put a field expedient brace on it, do so. Don't let that hinder you from getting things done that you need to do to survive. Okay? So that's pretty much it. That's an overview. One of the other things that we do, and we could do this in a lot more detail, and we could probably talk for hours about it. I just wanted to give you a quick overview so to give you something to think about, something to work on, something to look at, is we look at different types of personalities and personality traits, because when you get into a survival situation, those are going to be assets for you as a group. Okay, you've got the guy that's real religious and has his faith and he's up there and everything's all good to go. Then you got the other guy who's a leader, who's an authoritarian. Then you got the other guy who's just a team player. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. You got to look at all of that. And there's a lot of detail in that type of thing in order to put a group together and to divvy out the responsibilities of that group in order to survive, He's good with his hands. He's in real good shape right now, and he can walk. He's going to go do a recon. He's going to come back and tell us what's in the area. He's going to do an area recon, come back and tell us what's in the area. That guy over there is really good at building stuff, and he can do it quick. Okay, him along with a couple other people and a little bit of coaching, they're building shelters. They're setting up a fire pit. They're doing all these things that they can do. You need to gather firewood. You need to gather rocks. You need to go look for edible food. You need to fashion some tools so we can go try to get us a critter or two so we can have some protein. I mean, you got to look at all that kind of stuff. So survival's a real job. It's a lot of work. But if you train and you practice, you'll be successful.
Recently, I've been pretty much elbow deep in watching a lot of videos. Some great videos I've seen for this is actually on Netflix, The Colony, and it's also another show, The Alaskan Experiment, where they're hiking out of Alaska. I mean, these shows are great to watch and to kind of see how these people kind of interacted with their environment and how they responded psychologically as he entered into the discussion. How does this situation affect you psychologically? But I was in the military as well, and I personally know from experience, a lot of people will say, oh, when I'm in that situation, I'm going to react correctly, or I'm not going to react the same way that I react normally. I'm going to do better. But that's not the truth. The truth of the matter is, when you're in the life or death situation, you will react the exact same way that you reacted while you were training. So until you get to that point in your training where you're reacting the same way, just like you mentioned, the guy in California, Death Valley, he just laid down and died. Until you can get to that mentality where you don't quit and you keep on going, then you haven't really gotten enough training yet. And training will help you in the sense that it will build your personal fortitude to where you're more able to overcome obstacles in front of you. And it doesn't have to be even the hard training events. Just think about your daily life, because I've been thinking about this a lot recently. When I come to a personal obstacle, what's the first thing that I want to do once I've achieved as much as I set in front of myself is, okay, I'm going to quit for the day. Test yourself. Find some tasks in front of you that are difficult and try to push your quitting point beyond where your normal comfort zone is and see what your personal fortitude in that situation is. These kind of survival training are great to test yourself in those situations, but just test yourself on a daily basis with mundane tasks. And when you get to that point where you're like, man, I want to quit, just keep on pushing yourself to just go a little bit further. And it's not about doing that task better. It's about building your personal fortitude so that when you're in a life or death situation, you're not going to just quit. Because as it says at the bottom, it's not about surviving. It's about refusal to quit. The
Yep.
will to survive.
Never give up.
Considered the refusal to give
No
up.
retreat, no retreat, no surrender. Absolutely.
Most people have a real bad difficulty. What's the one thing that our fathers teach us when we start doing sports? Don't quit. It's who cares about the sport you're learning or how
don't
to
quit.
throw? The point is that you're building your personal fortitude so that you can keep on going. And the training will help you discover what your weak points are. And I did a lot of training in the military, but I personally can say that, you know, a lot of things that have improved me as a person was dealing with my kids. I want to quit all the time. Frustration level.
They can definitely be a challenge. There's no doubt about that.
Don't think that if you're not doing all of these things, like he said, you know, when you're in that survival situation and you have people of different talents, don't think that you have to have just this particular set of talents. Like he said, the best talent you can have is just the refusal to quit. If you can not quit and other people can rely on you for certain things, you don't have to be the scout recon. You can be the guy who stays back and does the repair. Right?
Yep.
The important part is to develop your personal fortitude and individual skills and to be confident in your own ability. Because every person in this room has abilities that is required for survival. And if we were thrown together as a group right now into a survival situation, I know that we could monopolize skills from every single person.
I'm
Absolutely.
glad Jeff is here if that happens.
He's got some really, really good, let me interrupt something, I'll let you talk. He's got a really, really good point, and you know, I got to refer to the military because that's how I grew up, you know, since I got out of high school, I've been in the military. Testing and challenging yourself with both your physical limitations, finding that wall physically where you know where you're at, and you got to push beyond that wall, and then you find out what your real limitation is in life, and your mental attitude and your mental wall. Those are two different things you have to look at. Find out what breaks you. You know, some of the military schools I went through, they told me when we went through escape and evasion that we're going to catch you, and we're going to torture you, and you will break. And I'm like, no way, man. USA, man. Ain't no way, man. I'm an American soldier. It ain't going to happen. But they teach you that. So if I ever became a POW, and thank God I didn't, I know where I need to be. I know what my breaking point is on the physical side of the house and on the mental side of the house. And you don't want to get to that point. You want to keep yourself below that. So.
Now, do you offer these kind of skills in this training?
I will teach you what you want me to teach you. I will get horsewhips out and drag you through the woods if that's what you want. If you want that kind of pain and stress, we can get there. I can take you through the military scenarios that just test that metal that we just talked about. However, you will sign a release. So if you get hurt, it's not my fault. Because things do happen. But yeah, I can offer that kind of training. It just depends on the demand. I have done it a couple of times down south with some friends as a joint effort. So it's whatever you guys want. You know, I serve my country. I have all these skills now. I don't know what to do with them. You know, I kind of hate being a civilian because I really can't do anything anymore, right? Not what I want to do anyway. But I want to be able to give back to my community, and that's basically why I'm here today. Okay, there's no sense in all this $1 million training that I got to go to waste when I can get it out to the community and it may help save a life. So, where do you sign up? Oh.
Now, do we have another question? We got one more question.
Well, I didn't have really so much a question as a comment. Talking about what he was saying. I spent almost 21 years in the military myself, and I've been to a lot of the schools he's been to, and actually been to some of the schools that he taught. But it's been my experience that when it comes to a survival situation or any situation where it's a fight or flight reflex kicks in, it has a lot to do with your personal confidence. Years ago, I was told or read or saw something somewhere that said, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I'll tell you, and I'm glad I was younger when I came across that because it's actually, to me, it's proved to be exactly what it is. You know, they say, oh, you know, Ranger School or BUD/S, you know, it's 10% physical and 90% mental. Wait till you go. It's 140% physical and 900% mental.
Absolutely.
It will, oh my God, I don't even.
Just might as well paint a target on your forehead the day you get there.
But it's definitely about a confidence level in yourself. And yes, you need the training, and both physically and mentally. But there are instances out there of people with absolutely no survival skills that have survived what most people would say are just incredible circumstances. And I remember one specifically about a young lady. Her parents were missionaries or whatever. She was like 16 or 17. And they were flying over the middle of the jungles in the absolute nowhere. The plane goes down, crashes. She's the only survivor. She walked out. Took her like weeks to walk out. She's pulling blowflies out of her skin with a bobby pin and needle. Survived somehow, had absolutely no training, but all she could think about was her family, getting back to them, and everything else. So it's a mental aspect. And I've heard the same thing a million times. You know, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back to your training. I kind of agree with that, but I also have problems with that just for the exact same example I just gave you. She had no training to fall back to, but she rose to the occasion. She found a way to survive and lead. So for the average person, I don't know if that's so much true. You know, for those of us that are trained, yeah, we don't so much rise to the occasion as fall back to our training, because we have that training to fall back.
Excellent point.
First time rounds past my head, I was scared to death. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. We were all thinking, how are we going to react? You know, there's only a few in my unit that actually had combat experience. We were all newbies to this. And then those first rounds went by your head, and then a couple hours later, you're finally realizing, oh wow, is this finally over?
Clicks, you go. Don't even think about it.
It's
second nature.
Second nature. You train. So you do fall back to your training. And I think that's great for guys like us that are trained. That analogy, you don't rise to the occasion, you follow your training. But for the average person, I don't know if you could actually say that, because there are times when the average person with absolutely no training will rise to the occasion
absolutely.
and get the task done.
I can guarantee the percentage is very low on that.
Yeah, it would be very low.
Very low. Yes, it is possible. And I think it's the will.
Do you remember the hiker a few years ago, and I don't remember how long ago this was, but got his leg wedged in a rock and he actually cut his own leg off so he could get out? Yeah.
Well, there was the guy who did the arm too.
Yep. Yeah. So it's all right here.
It's amazing what the human body can do, and
what it can take and what it can do. Absolutely.
But was there any other questions, guys? Anything else? Come on. We've got an expert here. I mean, I know your minds are thinking things like that.
I've probably given them enough homework for months.
Yeah, you've given plenty enough homework. I do want to take a thing. Let's talk about fear. Okay. Now, me being a Christian, I know there are Christians here in the group. He was talking about the religious, so I got two of them, I think. I'm a Christian and a leader, so it's cool. But let's think of this. Guess what fear is? Fear is being sure of what you do not see, fear is being certain of what you do not see. Okay? You're not seeing it, but you're thinking it's going to happen.
Absolutely.
To you. All right? Well, guess what faith is? Faith is the same thing. It's just one is negative, one is positive.
Yeah.
Faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see. That can go either way. It's your attitude that determines whether it's fear or faith.
Yep.
Now I'm preaching, but I don't mean to. But you've got to think of it that way. Do I turn to fear or do I turn to faith? Do I believe what I know? And if you can do that, it's your attitude that determines your altitude, how high you're going to soar. Guys, I can say all I want to, and I can watch YouTube, and I can read books, and I recommend a great book for this process. It's called 1 Second After. If you get a chance, read it. It will show you an environment that could happen. That was a drastic environment, an EMP would happen. This guy's an EMP expert. But I can read these books and say, yeah, I'm gung-ho, and I can do this. But unless you try and work this stuff out, it's not going to happen.
Nope.
just plain honest. I mean, I went to boot camp, Great Lakes, Illinois. He probably would scoff at that, but it was a training. It was tough on us. But now to go to the Marines, the Army, or Special Forces, ain't even close. But it's a level. Everybody's at one level or another. If you can decide what level you're at and what next one you need to take, that's what you need to do. And that's what these classes are for. These guys, man, think about it. We have put tax dollars into this man, millions of dollars to train him.
Literally.
Literally. Why wouldn't we take advantage of this situation? Okay? So I really commend you and thank you for coming today, but let's go the next step further. We were just talking the other night that on how many has finished their get-home bag? The rest of you? What are you doing?
I'll pack it when it happens.
That's right. I've got it right here in about 20 cabinets, but we can arrange it.
That's right.
What are you doing? Are we doing this? And please, I'm not being mad. I'm not being angry. But if you're not going to do this, why are you coming? Because we want you to be prepared. We want you to be able to access these tools that we're giving you, and you can go home and you can feel safe. You can feel safe. Hey, I can do this. You know.
Yeah, you guys, all of you here, you get the proper training and you got the right mindset. You might be the leader in your neighborhood.
That's exactly right.
You know, you might be the next generation teaching that other person how to survive as well.
That's what we're talking MVP network. Network is the key here. I want you to go into your community and I want you to start recruiting, saying, hey, I've got this, the gardening, whatever you can do to reach these people's hearts, to say, hey, if I can get you to prepare for 30 days, you all know I say this all the time, you're not going to come to my house for 30 days. After that, we'll work it out. We'll work it out. But you know what? If you can get them for 60, 90, things like that, that's just first steps. But then if you can actually develop yourself, I know most of you have not had military training here. I've had very lightly military training, but there are others. We have police, we have fire department, we have nursing. Guys, if we can just bring this together and really take this seriously. No, the end of the world may never come. If it doesn't, we're going to live better lives, aren't we?
Absolutely.
It's just going to be much better.
Yep.
I mean, didn't you just tell me about how you keep a pair of tools? He goes to Harbor Freight and buys a pair of tools, and when somebody's broke down, guess what he does? Here you go. Work on your vehicle. It's free to you.
Yeah.
Costing $20, $25.
It's awesome.
What does that take?
Yeah, it doesn't take anything.
No, nothing. Simple stuff. You don't have to spend a fortune. But guys, all these classes, now, I will offer this to you. You can tell me later. But if you want to go further with these things and have a separate day where we start talking about, and if you need help tearing down those bags and getting those bags together, we can do that, but we've got to get together and make sure we get this stuff done. Because we're not going to go any further than where you've stopped. If you haven't got your go bag, that's where you're stopping at.
Do you want to know a good situation where that comes into play? And did you know we're in an earthquake fault here in Ohio, by the way?
Yep.
Okay. Louisiana. What happened in Louisiana? We had a total breakdown of society down there for a long period of time. There were killings, there were rapes, there were beatings, all kinds of thefts going on.
Let's not say there was a real high level of society there.
You're probably right there. But that's a prime example of a situation that, you know, if that community had been prepared for floods, which it had what? The potential for that to happen. Everybody knew that. Hell, I'd have had a boat in my garage. I'd have been good to go, you know. My Zodiac would have been busting through the garage and I'd have been on my way. Yeah. Well, somewhere. But, you know, being prepared. You just never know. I mean, you know, here in Ohio, what do we got to deal with? We got to deal with adverse weather, severe thunderstorms, snow, tornadoes, definitely tornadoes these days. Our environment is changing so much. It's alarming and people aren't paying attention to it. If you haven't woke up to that yet, start watching the Weather Channel, okay? Because Ohio's not the same state it used to be for weather, and it can come on a moment's notice. So just get your bags and be prepared.
What Jeff just said, the very first class we had, now maybe some of you weren't there, but I know you've watched the YouTube. How many have gotten all your documentation? This is the most basic principle thing. How many have gotten your documentation photocopied, put in a safe place? How many? How many? Don't lie. Okay. It's in a lockbox, but that's fine. You can get to it somewhere. Right. Okay.
That stuff's critical to identify yourself. You know, FEMA, which is a 4-letter word, by the way. Residency and prove who you were. You have to have that documentation, or you're not getting nothing.
Yes.
You have your copies notarized constantly.
Yep. Make sure it's a true document. It's a good point. Make sure it's all notarized.
Make sure they're notarized.
Either original or that.
Yep.
So.
You know, that is the most simplest thing you can do. And I know we're all busy. Let me tell you something. Doing this group, I've got 3 jobs now. I've got 3 jobs. We're all busy. I'm making time to do this. I've actually taken on another job that I know nothing about. I've worked into a warehouse supervisor position. Mike can tell you, I'm clueless because the other guy had to leave. So now I'm trying to figure out all this kind of stuff. Guys, we're all busy. But if we don't do it now, and it's not going to take weeks and months, just take little amounts of time and set aside. Discipline. That's what this is all about, discipline. Yes.
And that's kind of what I've been kind of building off of when I said the don't quit mentality. Because I get my chores done that I need to get done at home. And when I'm ready to go to and sit in front of the TV and just watch TV,
That's the devil, brother.
Goes across my mind.
No doubt.
Why don't I go and get something done? I want to quit right now, but not only can I exercise my personal fortitude by getting something done, and I can get an item on my preparation list taken care of. You know, whether it be getting out and exercising, or putting together a bag, practicing with some equipment, getting my kids out and teaching them some things.
Weed your garden. Weed your garden. That's right. Anything. Turn off that, man, my Lord, I hear this from the pulpit all the time. Turn off the one-eyed demon. It consumes your time. I know there are educational shows, but I tell you what, the internet's become more now. I can sit there and watch a YouTube video.
Oh yeah, all day long, man.
20 hours later, I'm still bug-eyed, red-eyed, or whatever, and it's taking all my time up. What is the saying? Faith without works is dead. If you don't put in what you know into action, it's not going to happen. So guys, we've got to have a strategy. Go ahead.
Okay, one last thing here real quick. Shooter's Paradise. They're offering advanced pistol training 1.
I've done that one. It's awesome.
It's at 8 o'clock in the morning on the 29th of July.
It's the 26th.
26th. Now they've changed it.
Oh, they've changed it 26? Okay.
Yeah, you looked at the calendar.
No problem.
And where's that going to be located at?
It's Troy, but we'll give you the
TBA
address.
for the location?
Yeah, it's Troy.
Okay, now they're also going to be offering the Pistol 2, Advanced Pistol 2, but you got to have Pistol 1 to do Pistol 2. And that's going to be at 1300 on the 26th.
Yes.
Right?
Now,
And
I must tell you also, when you sign up for this class, you have to pay it in full, no matter what. It's non-refundable. So I just have to tell you that, okay? We had last time some people promised to show up, and they did not. So we were out there, and we had to pay the gentleman that was doing the program and everything else, and John lost money. I'm just telling you right now.
Yeah.
So anything we take, we have to take the money up front. Now, we can make arrangements. I'm sure we can put a down payment on it or whatever, and then so be it. But guys, I'm telling you, this pistol course is awesome.
the guy that teaches is phenomenal.
He is.
Okay, his website is John, JONW, at shootersparadise.org. Okay?
And I think we have a link to him on our Facebook page.
You probably do. And that goes for the survival training too.
Yes.
You know, if you guys get together as a group and you decide you want to do whatever level training you want to do, that is time and labor intensive. And, you know, we want to try to get the money ahead of time. We had done one class and we had 10 sign up and 2 show up. Yeah, I can't teach just 2 people. I got to have a group. So.
And if you're worried about, I mean, we're all concerned about money. If you're really concerned about money, we can have a fundraiser. I'm serious. I'm dedicated that much where we'll take time and do whatever we got to do to get you into these programs.
And the price that we got right now, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, it's nothing. If you think I'm BSing you or trying to do the sales pitch here to you, get on the internet. You can't even get a 2-day basic course for under $500. Guarantee it.
I think that's 500 rounds, and if you price ammo, that's another
Oh, yeah.
several $100.
Yep.
I've looked into SEER training. That's their ex-SEALs. They're doing the same thing. Just
Right.
You can bring a normal person in. They're wanting $1,800
Oh, yeah, for a weekend.
for a weekend. $1,800. Guys, I'm telling you, we are so blessed to have Shooter's Paradise here. And John, all these instructors, we are very blessed. We've got to take advantage of this. So we'll have a sign-up sheet, or I'll send out a list. But let us know tonight if you would like to be involved in that. Don't worry about the price right now. We'll figure that out. Okay, but we just need to know and get a compliment. Write your name down, phone numbers, things like that. If you're really interested, we'll take them tonight. That way we'll have a list.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there. Okay? All right. Any other questions for us?
Cool.
All right.
Thank
Guys,
you.
Let's give Jeff a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Throw money.
Throw money. I'm actually going to take your microphone from you, though.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll walk out with it.
Guys, I want to thank you for coming today. Thank you on the video for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free. You can talk to Gus about gardening. You can talk to Jeff. Just don't keep them all night, please. But we've got a lot of stuff coming up, so make sure that you have the schedule coming up. The next one is going to be great. I have a flyer over here for you to remember. Solar and wind power, well, actually any alternative energy that we're going to be presenting. We have a special speaker that he actually works for Right Pat and develops solar panels for satellites, things like that. This is our own very Sean back here. He's actually going to be our next speaker. Yay, yay. Now, I will tell you this, if there's something special that you would like him to talk about, talk to him tonight. That way he can have it in his program. I'm really excited about this because I'm wanting to get my own. He's changed my mind from solar to wind. So and it sounds exciting. I can't wait. And then we may even, if we have enough interest, it will be a little cost to it. We may even have an on-hands demonstration of how to build your own windmill. But that will come later. He's going to explain theoretically and show you different examples, things like that. But how would you like to have your own alternative energy source on your property? I mean, I just can't imagine. Now, we're not talking about running everything full force, not your dryer, things like that, but at least basic essentials. You can even get hot water. He was showing me this thing. You do hot water. I'm like, wow, it's pretty incredible. And just the sun on the roof. It's amazing. So, guys, please come out next month. We'll be glad to have you. If you need any books, we've got the books over here. Preparedness books. We're out of the lids. We'll get those next month. And also, too, do not forget to get your radios. If you're wanting them programmed and everything, I will get with them, get us a date. I will send it to everybody, okay? Also, too, thank you for coming tonight. Have a great day. Don't forget there's bananas up here, too, if somebody wants some more. Help yourself. Or Brian will eat the rest of them.
Hello, my name is Tim Sanford, and I want to welcome you to the Miami Valley Preparedness Network, where we're teaching the skills of self-reliance living in today's culture. If you'd like to be a part of our meetings, you can go to MiamiValleyPreparednessNetwork.com or join our Facebook page, and you can see all the events going on there. Just remember, preparedness is not just an event, it's a lifestyle.